Hey guys, it's Anita from What Works for Us, and as promised, I'm following up with a video that is going to talk about how to increase your credit score. Okay, so these are for just for anyone who wants to increase their credit score, but really the main video that I was talking about was, so you want to purchase a home. And in order to purchase a home, you need to have good credit. Or to make any type of large purchases, you're going to need some good credit unless you have that cash outright that you could buy what you want outright. And then that way, and if that's the case for you, then this video is totally not for you. So first things first, I'm going to put that disclaimer out there that I do not have a financial degree. I do have a degree, but it's not in finance. Okay, I just do this as a hobby, and I love to do it. And it was requested by someone who follows us and watches our videos on YouTube, and they asked about it because I did do a video on finance and a brief account video when we first started this show. So let's get into how to increase your credit score. Okay, so if you watched the last video, you should have seen that I gave some websites in there of where to go to check your credit score. So if you don't know where to go, you could check the last video. Also, one thing really quickly that I want to say is that re-listening to my video, I noticed that I messed up mathematically, and it bothered me. I mean, mathematically, I said like an example of if you got a loan for $5,000 and your interest was 15%, you would be paying back 3 times the amount, which is correct. But I said that you would be paying back $20,000, but that's not correct. So 15% of $5,000 is $750. So basically, if you got a loan for $5,000 and your percentage rate was 15%, then you would be paying back $750 in addition to the $5,000 that you paid. Whereas if your interest rate was only 5%, then you would only pay back an additional $250. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. But bottom line is, the better your credit score, the lower your percentage interest that you're gonna be paying. So basically, less money that you're gonna be paying back, right? Because that's how credit companies make their money. They make their money on that interest. Okay, so getting back into how to increase your credit score now that you know what your credit score is. There are a lot of different variations that go into your credit score that can affect your credit score, such as paying your bills late. If you pay your bills late, that will decrease your credit score. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you're paying your bills on time. And if you're having an issue paying your bills, if you didn't know, you can actually change the date of your due date for your bills. You just have to call your creditor, whoever that person is, and then request them to change it. And in some cases, they can. You just talk to them about it, right? So another thing that you could do in regards to paying your bills is if you say like you forgot to pay a bill and now you incurred a late fee. You could call that creditor and you can request them to waive the late fee. Now that doesn't really help your credit score, but at least it helps put money back into your pocket, right? So your creditors are willing to work with you. You just have to call and ask. Like a lot of people don't call. So for example, we were actually paying late fees on our mortgage that's upstate New York, unbeknownst to us. That's because, like I said, I deal with all the finances, and that credit agency was sending the information to Travis because it's in his name, and I wasn't made aware of it. So for like a whole year, we paid a late fee each month because of a misunderstanding. And so when we finally figured it out 11 months later, we called the mortgage company, and they actually waive the monthly late charges. But they only do one a year. So every year now I have to call and say, can you please waive this monthly fee? Or I'm sorry, please waive this late fee. Next thing is, you do not want to be negative at all. Absolutely no negative in your bank accounts. Okay, a negative bank account reflects poorly on your credit score, and that brings your credit score down. And it costs you money, right? If you think about it, when you go into the negative, then you have to get an insufficient fund fee. or you get a return check fee. Like, trust me, I got all those fees back in the day. So I know about going in the account in the negative, right? But what I didn't know back then was going into the negative affects your credit score, which affects you getting a loan at a decent percentage rate, right? Let's see what else is there. Credit increase. What that means is like you're applying for credit. So every time you apply for credit, it like, so it's not like a beacon or anything like that, but it stays on your credit report for up to 2 to 4 years, depending on what it is you applied for that credit card for credit. Like, I think if it's like a credit card, I believe it's like 2 years, and if it's like a car, it's like 4 years. I'm not exactly sure on that. I'll have to do some research on that. But basically, what you need to know is every time you apply for credit, that, I'm sorry, my husband's walking in, that affects your credit score as well. And then, of course, there's the...
What you making a video about?
I'm making a video about how to increase your credit score.
How to increase your credit score?
Yeah.
Maybe you should join accounts. Maybe that'll help.
That is something that we will discuss in another episode.
No, it's something we will come back to because we've already made an episode about joint accounts.
Yes, we did. And we said no.
We'll link that in the video description below.
Okay. Yes, but we are talking about joining accounts. But nevertheless, let's get back to the main topic at hand, which is how to increase your credit score. So of course, other big things that would affect your credit score is if you get your car repossessed, if you go into a foreclosure, you have a foreclosure on your home, then yes, those are like big time ticket things that will affect your credit score. But all the others, even having a foreclosure, you can get over that. It's just a matter of time. So foreclosure will be on your credit for 7 years, right? And I know this from personal experience because my first home, after my divorce, it actually went into foreclosure. So that stayed on my credit report for 7 years. And I'm not sure how long a car repossession stays on your credit for, but basically any type of negative things dealing with your finances will affect you in the long run. And the reason why it's good to keep your credit score up is because you will be paying a lower rate. So if you come into a situation where you need to buy a car or you need to buy a house, you're still going to borrow money, but instead of paying back, like I said, 3 times the amount, you would only be paying back, less than that, right? So hopefully that made sense. And then what else I would like to say is you can go to creditkarma.com, and I have mine up on here, and you can explore it. We'll have to log back in. Sorry. So explore creditkarma.com. It's free. I do have another website that I also use that I pay for monthly, and I'll tell you what that is. But creditkarma.com, it's free, and it gives you your score for free. But it only lists 2 of the credit bureaus. It lists TransUnion and Equifax. That's why I have another one, Experian, that I do monthly as well. But on there, it will tell you what accounts you have. Look through it, verify that those are your accounts. If they're not your accounts, you can go through the steps for disputing those accounts that are not your accounts. Now, another key thing to increase your credit score is for all those credit cards that you have, you do not want them to be maxed out. A maxed out credit card lowers your credit score, okay? So key thing to remember is you only want to spend about 35% of what your credit is. So if you have a credit limit if you have a credit card that the limit that you have is a $5,000 limit, then you don't want your balance shouldn't be 5,000, and it'll probably be more than that because you'll be incurring the percentages and or late fees. You know, 'cause and especially if you're paying the bare minimum, that does not help you. So if a key rule is to only spend 35% of it, that keeps your credit score up. That shows creditors that you're not desperate and you're responsible with your credit. Now, when you max out your credit cards, that shows that you're irresponsible, and you will more than likely remain in debt. And once you're in debt, it's kind of like hard to get out of debt. It's like you're climbing out of a hole, or you're like buried, you know, you're drowning. You're not even like swimming or floating, you're drowning, right? And right now I'm sending you a life vest to help you float. So if you start doing these things, it will, one, put your finances back in order, and it will increase your credit score, and it will help you to purchase things that you would like to purchase in good standing. So always remember that you don't want to be more than 35% of what your actual credit limit is. So credit sites such as creditkarma.com, the reason why I want you to explore it is because you need to be aware of what your actual credit score is like, what is on your credit report, and verify and confirm that those accounts are your accounts. If it's not, there's a dispute center that you could do all online. It's pretty simple. You could just say what the dispute is. For example, I think there was it had a credit that was actually my mother's credit. It was on my credit account, and I don't know if because our first names both start with A, I don't know what the issue is, but somehow my mom information was on mine as my debt. So I simply just wrote in the dispute in the box saying, okay, this is actually my mother's account. This is not my name. Please remove it. And then I submitted it electronically, and then they do all the background work, and they got it off my credit report. So it's really key that you stay in touch with what your credit report looks like, because I feel like it's a step in a positive direction to financial independence and financial stability. All right. So to recap, in order to increase your credit score, you need to pay your bills on time. Make sure your bank accounts are not in the negative. Stay away from applying for new credit. Do your best to not get your car repossessed or have a foreclosure. And finally, make sure your credit cards are not maxed out. All right? So if you have any questions, drop them in the comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you next time.